Stay on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I'm here, as always, with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good. Just got off like a 3-hour gaming session with the boys. Fall Guys is free on Xbox now, so yeah,
Nice.
we're a bunch of mid to high 20s just playing Fall Guys.
Solid. I've never played that. Probably won't.
Dude, you gotta download it. Come on, it's
Listen,
free. It's free.
I know.
It's such a small game. Like
I play sports games. That's it.
It's sporting.
Sure. All right. We're not here to talk about video games. We're here to talk about the NFC East and their depth charts and kind of what that looks like for fantasy. So if you followed along over the last few weeks, we've kind of broken down each team and each position for each team and how they may shake out for redraft, for dynasty, and we take them in different directions. It's fluid. Not every episode sounds the same. And so we'll see where this one takes us. We will also be doing a robust running back strategy mock draft. It's something that, when you're doing dynasty drafts, the robust running back is kind of gone right now. It's really, really tough to do a robust running back draft and be successful in dynasty. But in redraft, I believe there will be a path to success with the robust running back. And so we will kind of test that out tonight and see what we like, see what we dislike. And that's what these mocks are for. We talk through our strategy, but we're very much so like let the board fall to you and see where it goes from there. But we'll see how it goes tonight. But first, we're going to get into the NFC East depth charts. But before that, we do have some NFL news for the first time in forever. So we have here NIL deals and the future of the NFL. Randy, talk to me about this.
Yeah, so it's just something I've kind of wanted to bring up. You guys may have covered it on the Devil Royale at different lengths, but these contracts, just the reported ones, are getting up to $10 million now. And what I'm saying here is, if we're getting 18-year-olds getting $3 to $10 million, like the kid that committed to Miami today got $9.5 million.
There's some disputes that he hasn't gotten that, but I think he doesn't want that out there is what's happening.
So I'm sure all these NIL deals have specific things in it to when they get the money, if they have to start second year, stuff like that. But like, imagine what Archie Manning got. Like, that's what I put in here. Like, he got past 10 million. I'm just saying.
Easy.
And the really big thing is, for Archie, it doesn't matter. He's 3 and done. But for the other guys, like, think of Malik Willis and Sam Howell this year. Like, they clearly got bad information that they were going in the second round, probably. And they went in the 3rd and 6th, I believe.
Yeah.
For those, at this point, if you're not getting first round report back, do you just stay for $5 million? Because you're making more than you're going to make in the NFL the first year, and you get to stay in college where you're the king of the castle and party. And I mean, not everyone does that, but that's kind of the points, the bonuses of college and everything. It is stricter rules, but if you're getting paid much more than you would than if you're not a first round player, I'd stay for 4 years now. So are we going to get more senior-led drafts and senior-led teams in the future? I think that is the path we're going to have.
It's an interesting theory, and I think you're absolutely right. Jeff on the Devy Royale, Jeff Bell, he's kind of highlighted that there's no reason for guys to early declare if they're unsure where they're going anymore. especially guys that have been paid, but maybe, think of Spencer Rattler last year, where he was the consensus number 1 overall pick, Heisman favorite, falls from grace. Spencer Rattler still would have gotten his NIL money last year, despite that. And I would assume that because of that and because of that situation, there will be some built-in clauses to these NIL deals that specify playing time and success and things like that.
Yeah.
Like you said, but it's very interesting. I don't know if it's going to impact as much as maybe we think right now, because I think there will be some normalcy to it eventually. But
we're in the gray area right now. That's why I bring it up, because in 5 to 6 years we'll know what to expect, but we're still so early in the process. And for the powerhouse teams and the elite players, this won't matter, because they're still going to come out in 3 years, because there's still going to be first round grades coming back to them before they enter the draft. But that, my point mainly is, if you even get a second round grade, are you just like, well, I know a bunch of guys that get second round grades and go in the 4th round, and do I just stay back and maybe make another $3 million this year, then maybe get drafted 3rd or 4th next year? I don't really change much, and I get to stay here where I'm comfortable, make more money than I would have, and be the king of the castle.
Well, and I think there's some merit to that as well, because we look at what Arch Manning did. He went to Texas, and everyone says, well, is Quinn Ewers going to transfer out? Absolutely not. Arch Manning is going there because he's going to get paid to sit behind Quinn Ewers for a year, and he's pretty cool with that, I think. I mean, of course, he'll still battle for the job, but Ewers at that point he already is better than Manning. I think Manning has a lot of his name attached to his star rating, unfortunately, but still a good quarterback, and I think that will be a good route for him, is to sit for a year. And we might see that more often, where kids are like, well, I'm going to go to this big school, sit for a year, maybe 2 years even, like Kyle McCord did with Ohio State. He's going to have to sit 2 years.
Well, and Archie can do the same thing that Quinn just did. You can just take the big payday, and then maybe it's Ohio State next year. Maybe they just swap. Maybe it's going to Tennessee or Ole Miss to follow in the family footsteps. But we'll see. It's an interesting point that I think we're really not hearing enough about yet. That's why I wanted to talk about it quickly.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely peak off-season discussion. This could be a whole episode where we could
100%.
talk about this. And unfortunately, we don't have that much time. But because I do want to bring up the other piece of news. So the Deshaun Watson updates. So today, I know I don't really want to talk about it, but the important ones. So the Texans were sued today for the first time. And so more cases will come out on that. And then the other important piece is that Deshaun Watson's NFL hearing begins tomorrow morning, I believe. Morning or afternoon. Do you know what time it starts?
No.
Me neither. But I've been doing a lot of digging. It sounds like we're going to know what Watson's outcome is within the next week. The latest they say that they will have a final ruling will be next Tuesday, based on the fact that they will already have a recommendation as they walk into everything tomorrow. So it's exciting that we finally are having some closure with this, and I'm excited to see what happens, because I have faith that the NFL will actually do the right thing in this scenario, personally.
Yeah, I just want it to be done with. Whatever it is, I just want to be done with this. We can go the week and talk about it and then move on. I'm just done. Rightfully so, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are with that. All right, that's really it. Some more Baker rumors, not worthy of talking about.
They're waiting. Once Deshaun's settled, we'll know more.
Yeah, within 2 days, I'll bet. So
hopefully.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the NFC East depth charts, and we're going to start with the Washington Commanders, former football teams, and we're going to start at the quarterback position, because it's certainly an interesting room. We have Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, Sam Howell, and Cole Kelly. They added 2 rookies to that room. Cole Kelly was an undrafted free agent, but a guy I actually liked a good bit. Running backs, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, J.D. McKissick, Jarrett Patterson, Jonathan Williams, Reggie Bonifant. Wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, maybe. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, Cam Sims, Alex Erickson, Kelvin Harmon, Jaquez Izzard, Dax Milne, Markin Michelle and Kyrick McGowan. And then tight ends Logan Thomas, John Bates, Colt Turner, Sammy Reyes, Armani Rogers, Curtis Hodges, Antonio Gandy Golden. I forgot that was the switch
It
this year.
switched. Yeah, I was so happy writing that down.
Yeah, that's definitely fun. That tight end room is just freaky, man. And that actually brings us, it brings us to our first question. So Logan Thomas coming off the injury, he has been ultra successful when he's been on the field over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to start that way. Do you think he matters for fantasy in 2022?
I think so. I think you're right in that. I'm not sure how ready he is for the beginning of the year or how quickly he starts. I think he's going to be a waiver wire guy that ends up sticking. That's kind of my prediction. Carson Wentz has, always been a tight end favorite kind of guy. I know last year with the Colts, it wasn't the best situation with tight ends, but I would say Logan Thomas is better than anything he had on the Colts. Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox aren't really anything to mention, and Kyler Granson wasn't really ready yet. So I think if he can get back to full health and playing, second half of the year, he can be, on that cusp of tight end one where he's been when he's been healthy on the Commanders. So I don't think I draft him, though. I think I just wait and pick him up.
Yeah, I am interested to see his, what's going on with camp, because I will say John Bates and his limited action down the stretch last year was really quite okay. And I think that quite okay, like you said, with a Carson Wentz led offense, I think he's going to look at his tight ends a bit. And I think Bates would be the favorite to start if Logan Thomas starts the season on the pup or just not ready to play just yet. So, but that room is freaky. Antonio Gandy Golden is a former wide receiver. Armani Rogers is a former quarterback recruit. Sammy Reyes is a former basketball player, I believe, but he's a freak athlete as well. He was from overseas and he got some late draft buzz last year and then was signed as an undrafted free agent, I believe. So, a lot of interesting names. And then Colt Turner was actually, we talked about him on draft shows. So
he's a solid balanced tight end.
Yeah. And honestly, I think someone will step up and have some fantasy relevant weeks, whether it's Logan or not. Next piece of this puzzle is, so the expectation for wide receivers, we've seen a lot of Jahan Dotson type hype over the last few days, few weeks, really. Curtis Samuel seems to be healthier than he's been in over a year. And Terry McLaurin is maybe going to hold out of training camp as well, just based on the fact that they are pretty far apart on a large extension, which Terry McLaurin deserves. What are your expectations for the wide receivers? Do you think that Terry McLaurin plays week one, I guess, would be a question as well.
Yeah, I think he plays week one. I'm not sure if the deal gets done necessarily, but he's a competitor. He's going to play regardless, in my opinion. It's really past then. What do we expect from a rookie Dotson? I know he's first rounder. I know he's a really good and explosive route runner. He's very, very good at getting open in the short and intermediate. He's just not a deep threat guy. And Wentz is a little bit of a dink and dunk, but then YOLO ball guy. So I'm curious if it's just dink and dunk to Thomas and Dotson and Samuel, and then like De'Ami Brown breaks out kind of as a wide receiver, like deep wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, because he makes a couple plays here and there, because he's the deep threat of this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, unless they use Dotson in that role, which I wouldn't think is his best role.
No.
And so where I would like to take this actually is, we're going to walk right into a running back question, but I think that Antonio Gibson is going to be used in the receiving game a little bit more this year. I think that they drafted Brian Robinson to use him in that nature, and J.D. McKissick was good when he was on the field, but they know that Gibson is the better player after the catch. They know that he can be a weapon in more ways than just as a regular, first and second down running back. So that's where I think the targets will go. And I have Gibson as a really good running back this year. I don't remember where I have him ranked at the top of my head, though.
I don't remember where I have him ranked because I did it today. But I believe I had him barely scoring more, but being more efficient. And McKissick and Robinson getting good work. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, and that kind of leads into the last question we have for the Commanders. So there's some three-headed backfield rumors that are out there. Do you expect that Brian Robinson A is the goal line back, but also B would be the first and second down back at times, or do you kind of think that he's going to be eased in?
I think he's eased in and then used more rotationally than so they just always have a fresh guy in the field, and he won't be in on obvious passing downs or passing play calls. That'll just be Gibson, more likely McKissick. Not that he's necessarily better, but it's more his like skill set and what they trust. So I'm just curious to see how that shakes out. They tend to just trust him in the 2 minute drill more. Um, so we'll see on that. But like I said, I have Gibson being very, very good. Um, just basically finishing where he did last year or slightly above. So I know there's more backs this year healthy. So maybe that does drop him down slightly, but we'll see. Because, it sounds like I don't know about you, but I statted Kamara for only 11 games, and I statted someone else for like that too that I know, or like Dobbins and Edwards, I statted for 15 because they might not be ready week one, stuff like that. So that might be able to keep him up just a little bit higher.
Yeah. Yeah, on a just raw fantasy points finish, I have him somewhere in the top 15. It looks like points per game, RB20 is where I have Gibson, and
Yeah.
then Brian Robinson. I don't have very high hopes for him for fantasy. I have him at 7 fantasy points per game. So, and then I don't think they're going to use McKissick as much. I really don't.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will, and that's the fun of it. I do think people are overreacting on Gibson a little bit this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think his best role is not as a workhorse, which sounds crazy, but could be true. All right, let's get over to the Dallas Cowboys. Don't have to talk about the quarterback. That is Dak Prescott. Put some respect on his name out there. Fantasy community. He was on pace for like 6,000 yards 2 years ago before he got hurt. But the running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Jaquan Hardy, shout out Tiffin, Malik Davis, Aaron Shamklin. Nope, that's probably not it. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, Noah Brown, Simi Fioco, Ty Freifogel, TJ Vasher, Brandon Smith, Ontario Drummond. I forgot that he landed there. Dennis Houston, and Ja'Quari Roberson, which I knew he landed there. And then tight ends, Dalton Schultz, Sean McKeon, Jake Ferguson, Jeremy Sprinkle, Ian Bunting, Peyton Hendershot. And there are a lot of question marks on this team, but I think we have to start with Dalton Schultz. They are far apart on a contract extension too. I'm a little skeptical that he is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. I think that he could be a trade target for some teams based on that because they have just stayed far apart on the contract. But if he is a Dallas Cowboy, do you think he finishes top 5 again like he did in 2021?
Yes. I think he is 5. Like I would say Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Pitts, and then him. I think him and Waller would battle it out in Pitts, that is.
Yeah.
With touchdowns probably being the difference, which is why I give Schultz that. Because he's the only one of those 3 that actually gets fucking touchdowns.
Yeah. I'm going to be real with you. When we discussed our Dynasty tight end rankings and the consensus, I was kind of off on your takes when you said it was blasphemous. And then I statted out the Cowboys. And on a points per game basis, I have them at tight end 6 as an overall tight end finish because I know TJ Hawkinson's going to miss games. That happens. And so I statted him out for a couple less. I have Dalton Schultz finishing as tight end 5. So I need to move him up in my Dynasty rankings. You have convinced me now that I've looked at it deeper.
It's usually what happens once you're like, wait a minute. That's right. Yeah. He is good.
That's true. That's true.
The long term is to be determined. I'm not sure he's as successful somewhere else, but I have him staying here at least for this year. So top 5 is well within the outcomes. Top 10 guaranteed, I'd say, without injury.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of, people are kind of expecting that, but what happens with the wide receiver room now that Amari Cooper is not there is very much so a question mark. So the first question, do you think CeeDee Lamb is going to get the volume to finish as a top 5 fantasy wide receiver? And then the second question will be, who is going to step up in Michael Gallup's absence? There's really not a great shot. There's really no shot that he comes back week 1. He is definitely a candidate for the pup. And so there's James Washington. There's a list of guys.
I don't think I got to the Cowboys today. So I started I got through all running backs and started wide receivers. But I was just like, did I actually get to them? I'm not sure if I did, because I wanted to double check that I didn't put him for 17 games. If I did. But I think I actually did. So, and then not 17. I think I did him. I think Lamb starts off with the top 5 pace and then tapers off to anywhere from 8 to like 14. That's kind of my guess. And again, I think touchdowns will be big on that, because I do think he is going to be a target monster in this team now. With Gallup really, I think, thriving on the outside again. And then you just need, honestly, if you can keep Lamb in the slot and with 3 wide receiver sets and have Gallup and Washington or Tolbert or rotation between the 2, I think you can have a really successful offense with those weapons. And maybe we can actually see James Washington finally break out with actually getting true snaps in the field. But I do think he'll be the target guy, and with Gallup out to start the year, as long as he's not getting bracketed and double teamed, I think he has a good chance to start out strong.
Yeah, I think Schultz being on the field will help that for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's talks that Tony Pollard's going to be used in certain packages as well. I think they could toss him outside and let Lamb work on the inside, but I do think that CD is primarily a Z for the most part. The point I wanted to bring up, though, so Noah Brown was primarily used as a blocking wide receiver, and he was very, very effective with it.
Yes.
I think there's a real possibility that no one is talking about, that Noah Brown is actually the other starter and still not commanding a ton of targets, and so those targets have to go somewhere. And so CD and Schultz and Zeke and Pollard eat up all the Amari targets while Gallup is out. I don't know that that's a for sure outcome, because they did go invest in wide receiver, and then they brought in a couple undrafted free agents. I think Roberson's got a shot to make the team at least, and I think that he could be used as a deep threat in the way that they liked to use Gallup. So I'm intrigued by that as well, but they did draft Tolbert in the 3rd round. So
yeah, and this is kind of an injury-prone room as well, so I wouldn't be shocked if they keep like a deeper staff of receivers with these top 5, and then maybe Freifogel, Drummond, Roberson, and Fico just battling it out. I don't think the other guys really make it. Just personally, just knowing what I've seen before, I think the other 3 give you different values for the receiving room, and I think could bring different levels of trust. I think Freifogel, if he can sit in this offense for a bit, can end up being like a Cole Beasley reincarnated for Dak for the future. A little bit inside outside as well, but it would give Lamb a little bit more extra versatility at that point. I'm hoping Pollard is used and we can stop the Lamb's like sweet bullshit. If he keeps getting like banged up on him, just fucking hand it to Pollard, please.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, last question. So Ezekiel Elliott has been just ultimately faded to oblivion in dynasty formats, but I think in redraft that has started to carry over for whatever reason. I know his efficiency went down a little bit in 2021, but was very banged up, very outward about being banged up as well. He's explained that, and the reports have come out. Do you think that he finishes as a top 15 running back in 2022?
That is tough. And if pivot table stuff wouldn't pop up, I could do it easier.
So while you look,
12, I have him at 16, it looks like.
Okay, that's fair. So I have him at 11 on a points per game basis, and then I like to give both because I think it is worth noting that on a week-to-week basis, I have him at 11, but then I have him in the top 10 on a points per game because of Alvin Kamara not getting as many games and things like that. So I have him, I think, 8 in overall finish. So I think Zeke is still a viable fantasy option and pretty good value right now in redraft leagues.
Dude, I have Kamara killing it this year. Like, I have him at 11 games, and he's in the top 12. Because he was on pace to be that efficient last year, and he landed there. I think he just does it again, and with a little bit of a break. And I really don't think he gets 6. I think it comes down to like 4. So we'll get a little bit better. I think my numbers will be a little bit closer then. But I was doing it, man. The weapons that they have, I'm not like scared by any means to give him the touches.
Yeah, it's fair, and it's worth noting that Michael Thomas might not be ready for Week 1 either. So, granted, if Kamara's suspended, there's a chance too that Kamara gets suspended, but he appeals and he's on the field for a few weeks first, and then he gets suspended and kind of uses it as like a midseason break. So it'd be kind of it'd be bad for the Saints, good for his body down the stretch for their playoff run. So
I have Zeke kind of tapering back from last year a little bit, but it's because I have Dak throwing a little bit more and running more. So, and a little bit maybe increase. I'm not sure if it's a full increase with Pollard's workload, but I do think they start off the year trying to kind of gunsling it and get these other guys involved, and then they're going to have to kind of revert back once that's not working. But I do think we get a little bit more Dak on the loose this year.
Yeah, we could. It's been reported as such. So, all right, that'll do it for the Cowboys. Let's move over to Adam's Philadelphia Eagles. Again, don't have to talk about the quarterback. That is Jalen Hurts. Put some respect on Jalen Hurts' name, especially for fantasy football. But the running backs, Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Jason Huntley's still there. Love that guy. And Kennedy Brooks. He's a skinny little guy, but he's fast. And then wide receivers, A.J. Brown, the new addition to pair up with Devontae Smith. And then Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, Zach Pascal, Greg Ward, Deion Kane, John Hightower, Devin Allen, Josh Hammond, Keurig Wheatfall, and Britton Covey. It's an interesting landing spot for Covey. I didn't realize he was there. And then tight ends, Dallas Goedert, Jackson, Grant Calcaterra, Richard Rodgers, Noah Togiai, and good old J-Jaw. He landed at tight end as well. But Gandy Golden is definitely more exciting than that one.
Yeah.
Because he's better. So 3 questions here. Miles Sanders was ultra efficient last year when he played. He did get banged up down the stretch and towards the middle of the season, but will he score touchdowns this year?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a joke question, but yes, I do have him scoring touchdowns. It's just ridiculous. He 12 games, 137 attempts, 750 yards, no touchdowns at all, even with 26 catches. I have him increasing everything because, he's playing 17 games here. I have actually eclipsing 1,000 yards, barely, but getting 5 touchdowns, which should help bolster his finish to be right in that RB2 mix, if not middle to high. So I do have all the other backs involved and Jalen Hurts running, because you have to, but I do think he can be ultra efficient this year. There was a lot of times last year, like you said, that he just looked like he had his juice back, and I think that comes back this year with the new coaching staff. Well, not new coaching staff, but the new directive it kind of had for the first half.
Yeah, that's worth noting too. So the interesting part with that running back room is when Miles Sanders went down, Kenneth Gainwell's production also went down. And so I'm interested to see if they go back to the Sanders-Gainwell duo or if they start to prepare for life after Sanders and don't do the Bill Belichick and run their running back into the ground because it seems to – it would be stupid. But, I don't always think Sirianni's the smartest guy. I think he's a good head coach, but to take Gainwell off the field in favor of Jordan Howard last year was just baffling at times. So
I have Sanders getting 205 carries, Gainwell getting 90, Boston Scott getting 60. So a little bit of spread the wealth, and just increase the rushes for Gainwell, decrease the passing work slightly, just because of the increase of wide receiver talent. I don't think they're throwing at the running backs as much.
That's interesting. That is interesting. I don't have it statted out that way, actually. I have Sanders splitting a little bit more of the rushing work, but I also have the Eagles throwing a lot more. You bring in A.J. Brown, you have to throw the ball more, right?
Yeah. I have Hurts 58 more passing attempts.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's
basically 2 games worth.
Yeah, that should be, if you're statting people, that should be how you do it, because they went and I mean AJ Brown's there now. They have to throw.
I mean, also he only played 15 games last year, so 2 games worth is just
Yeah,
what he should have
finishing
gotten.
out.
But
yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are definitely gonna be nice for running backs, whether or not that means nice for fantasy. They're gonna have a nice rushing attack, so
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that someone
won't be
steps up.
your RB1, but
No.
it'll be a good piece.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got kind of there's been a lot of debate on this, and rightfully so. AJ Brown kind of walks into town, wide receiver 1A to Devontae Smith. See, that's where, I mean,
you said the same thing last year at the Titans, and you were dead wrong, motherfucker.
I know,
There's
but
a completely different scenario, but you were wrong there. I'm taking the win.
Exactly. Very, very different scenario in that, like, Jalen Hurts had a year with Devontae Smith. They connected. He had a great rookie year, and it goes kind of not talked about because Jamar Chase was just stupid last year. But so I think the question is, does A.J. Brown eat up some of Dallas Goedert's work? And does that make those two the only guys worth rostering or starting every week at least?
I think you only roster A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. And I think by the end of the year, I think we're closer to what you're predicting, the 1A, 1B. But I do think 1A is the one for the first half of the year, and he just gets fed targets. And once we can start to open the offense a bit more, I think that's when Smith can truly thrive, once he's just clearly the wide receiver 2 on the team, and not a detriment to his talent by any means. A.J. Brown's just older and broken out already. And he's better right now, no question. So if Devonta Smith can just thrive as that wide receiver 2, a lot like CeeDee Lamb has done over the last couple of years with the veteran ahead of him, I think that is his best scenario for his growth and development, and honestly Hurts' development as well. So I don't want any receiver besides those 2.
Yeah, that's fair. Does that include Goddard for you?
No, I want Goddard, but
okay.
I mean, I just don't. I tend not to group the 2 positions, but I get
For sure. So the reason I asked, though, is because I think Goddard, to me, is a back-end tight end 1 now. I do think that A.J. Brown takes some of that work, and I do think that if the running backs are still involved in the passing game, then someone's going to have to take a hit, even if they throw more. But, maybe not. Maybe their offense is so efficient that Goddard just has a crazy touchdown number or something like that. But I feel like A.J. Brown's probably going to be that red zone.
I do agree. I think Goddard's a back end tight end 1, but I think he's still a solid option. And that's basically it. I just think those 3 just eat up all the targets. And there's a solid running game with the quarterbacks and the running backs, and they're just efficiently moving the ball as the defense kind of gets up to speed. They have a little bit of veterans and youth mix that I'm not quite sure how it works out. So we'll see how that plays.
Yeah. All right, last question. So they do have a flurry of their tight end room is a mixed bag as well. But as of last year, Jack Stoll was technically the tight end 2. I think Richard Rodgers got hurt for some of last year, though, and so yeah. So who do you think steps up as the tight end 2 for this team?
So I think it actually is Richard Rodgers for the first half. And then I think with Grant Calcaterra kind of coming back from injuries, I do think he has a chance to break out down the stretch. Tyree Jackson hasn't done anything since the switch. Jack Stoll's an okay option, mainly more of a blocking, but they don't want their tight end 2 to block. They want their tight ends to kind of passively block and block when needed, but be receiving options. And the only 2 here that I trust is Richard Rodgers and Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah. I think it's worth it. I think Calcaterra ends up being their move tight end 2, and kind of getting used and eating up some targets. I don't have a high target total for him, but more than you would think for a day 3 tight end.
Yeah, I think he has a chance to be the tight end of the future for them.
Oh, for sure.
I do think he has a chance. Now, is that a guarantee? Can they draft someone else? Of course, but still.
He's a good pass catcher. He's not going to be used to block very much, though.
No.
Really at all. And he shouldn't be. So, all right, that'll do it for the Eagles. Last team is the New York Football Giants. And we do have to talk about the quarterbacks because Daniel Jones has been bad. And they brought in Tyrod Taylor to be his backup. They also have Davis Webb. At running back, Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, Antonio Williams, Deshaun Corbin, and Sandro Platzgummer. That's not a real person. No way.
I promise, bro.
Wide receivers, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Richie James, CJ Board, Keelan Doss, Travis Tavonen, David Sills, Colin Johnson, Alex Bachman, Austin Prohl, Robert Foster. Jesus Christ. And then tight ends, Daniel Bellinger, Jordan Akins, Ricky Seals-Jones, Chris Myarick, Austin Allen, and Andre Miller. First question, what are you doing with this wide receiver room? It's a mess. I listed, 12? 14. They have 14 wide receivers on the roster as of right now. Some of them, three of their top options are kind of the same player. Sterling Shepard, slot wide receiver. Darius Toney, slot wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, tiny little slot wide receiver. So what are you doing here?
So I think, first of all, you're getting good upside value with all three in redraft right now. They're all going very later, middle rounds, later drafts. So I think you take the shot on Golladay personally because he's never actually been healthy here. And with a new offensive scheme coming in, he's the only one that's going to be able to run the Diggs role. Not to that level, but he's the only one that can. It's basically, I think Shepard's a stalwart, and he gets a lot of the targets. And then Toney and Robinson are gadget guys to me still, not even pure slot guys. So I'm just assuming they rotate in touches, Robinson getting ready. I think there's a good chance Slayton gets traded or cut because I think it's smarter to keep some of these cheaper options. Even Keelan Doss, I think he can be a very, very discount version of what you can get from Darius Slayton for this team in a crowded room of a lot of young guys you're trying to build for the future. So I think Slayton goes, and I think that's a priority free agent I'd be interested to look at in the future once we get past this, because he's been very talented at times, especially as the deep threat. So I do think there's a lot of teams that could use that, and especially once we get through camp and the injuries, I'd be pretty excited. I mean, even a team like for me, the Raiders, or the Patriots, or Browns, even, all three of those teams could really use an outside option to pair with their teams. I mean, do you really trust anyone in the Raiders room besides the top two receivers? I don't.
I like Matt Collins a little bit.
I do, but it's do you trust? That's
yeah.
And I think I'd rather trust Slayton, especially on the cheap deal, over Hollins. I'd rather trust Slayton over, Donovan Peoples-Jones right now over anyone on the Patriots receiver room. Let's just be real.
Maybe Devontae Parker, probably.
It's just injury, though. Injuries.
Yeah, that's fair. So the follow-up there, who do you think starts in three wide receiver sets if everyone's healthy? Do you think Toney and Wan'Dale are
the
both
top
on the field?
No, it's Golladay, Shepard, Toney, I think. And Toney has been apparently a little bit of a diva, and so he might a little bit play himself out, and maybe Wan'Dale can step up there, and maybe there's a trade mid-season or something. But I would go with the top three as of right now.
I wouldn't be shocked to see a trade in camp, and they just use Wan'Dale in the Toney role.
I believe they restructured Shepard to keep him this year, so that's why I do think he sticks around. Otherwise, I thought he'd get cut to let Toney kind of eat, but
yeah. So again, points per game basis, Sterling Shepard to me is a flex every single week he plays,
and he was for a lot of the times when he was healthy last year. Yep. But again, Golladay wasn't, and the offense wasn't great either.
Yeah, it was terrible, and it should be better this year. Next question. So a lot of different options at RB2 for this team. Saquon is obviously the starter. We know this. He looks healthy. He looks freaking rocked up in his shirtless pics that he's posted on Twitter. getting me pretty amped to maybe scoop him in some drafts this year. But who emerges as the RB2 behind him this year?
I have it as Breida. I think Brighton has a chance to pick up steam, or Brightwell, sorry, down the stretch. But I really don't think there's any talent in this running back room. So I'm curious if this is like the first location people get picked up. And I know there's a lot of talk from like outsiders for the Browns camp for is it Hunt or Johnson staying or both staying. This is a team that I think could use getting like Dearness Johnson as the RB2, and if it's like the Saints, and Kamara's out for 6 or longer, maybe they go for like Hunt. Like those are just different like places that would want different roles, and I think that's big here where they don't want the all-around back to go with Saquon. They want the guy that's going to be a one-cut bruiser, more of that. And that's definitely more Dearness Johnson. And I think there's many camps that could use that. I mean, this is a great space for Myles Gaskin as well. And Tevin Coleman from the Jets or Ty Johnson even. Like there's plenty of battles in the running back room that could benefit from this. And as of right now, it's only Breida for me here because I don't think there's much talent behind Saquon.
Yeah. I like Corbin a bit. I think Corbin's going to emerge just out of that group.
Maybe.
I just don't see Breida as a guy that's going to stay healthy. And there's a reason that he bounced team to team the last couple of years. So I do think Corbin steps up as the roster currently stands. But I think you're right. I think they're going to add some pieces to that running back room because they have to if they want to be good. Although it's a Dable offense means that they might not even use the running backs all that much. And so it could just be the Saquon show and they could run him into the dirt, which is stupid. I think they need to limit his touches, but whatever. Last question and kind of in jest, but what do you think the odds are that they pull Daniel Jones at some point this year and put Tyrod in to win some games?
I don't think it's great. I think they're full go on the experiment here. I think that's the smart thing to do as well. Just see what you got. And I think he plays a little bit better this year. Daniel Jones. I think this offense could revitalize him. I think he has the running ability to really thrive in what this offense wants to do as well. So I don't have him finishing high or anything like that, but I think he has a chance to be relatively good. I think QB 20.
That's where I have him.
And that's QB 20. That's definitely running upside and touchdowns helping a bit, but if he can just keep the interceptions and turnovers low, he's always been a pretty decent fantasy quarterback. He's always been a quarterback too, as long as the turnovers are in check.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is a better fantasy football option than Trevor Lawrence in 2022.
I don't think I have that, but
I do.
I don't have that.
We'll talk about Trevor Lawrence on another episode, I think. We haven't done the AFC side.
We have not. We've done the West and the East, or North and the East now. So
yeah, cool. All right. Anything else on any of the NFC East teams before we do this mock draft?
Only thing, I hope Daniel Bellinger breaks out. That tight end room here sucks. Ricky Seals-Jones, Jordan Akins are guys that haven't really done much, so I'm not really trusting them. So if we can get Bellinger to break out as a rookie, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's got the ability, I think. He's certainly an athletic dude. So I hope that I think Seals-Jones is going to get the first go at it, though.
Yeah, I do too.
So, okay, let's move over to our robust running back draft strategy, mock draft. Remember, this is redraft. This is redraft superflex, though. I think we've seen an influx of those types of leagues. And really, with robust running back, it's easy to go robust running back if you're in a single quarterback league because you're not touching quarterbacks. But this is kind of the scenario where you have to get 2 quarterbacks if you want to succeed. So,
yeah. Mainly, it's just strategy aims to dominate the running back position. With the knowledge, you can get good play from other positions later in the draft or from waiver wire easier than you can from the running back position. This recently has become a name strategy. This is something that I've been doing for a long time, as Christian well knows. It was kind of like the meme that I only draft running backs, but the main thing is to try and get 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. I will be doing that in this draft, drafting from the second position here. This covers the normal 2 starting running backs, and you get one of the 1 to 2 flex positions that are more common in leagues now. Obviously, this is a super flex. There's technically 3, but if you have 2 flex positions, you can kind of focus on getting 4 backs if you want early, but you may come up light at the tight end and quarterback in that scenario. So you have to be a little bit more careful, but the biggest thing is just nailing, instead of getting value other places like a 0 strategy, this is absolutely dominating the 1 position.
Yeah. All right. And I wanted to ask, do you want us both to hit robust running back, or do you want me to go a different route? Because I know that you do this anyway, so this is your bag. This is your bag.
Do you want to do robust too, or do you just want to do normal?
I think I'm going to draft normal, and it might end up being robust running back. We'll see.
That's fair. That's perfectly fair.
Because I know that you're going to take all the other running backs on the other side of the draft.
Right.
So Randy has the 102, and I have the 111. So opposite sides of the draft, which should help things like that. But let's get it started. All right.
Okay. The one thing that I needed to happen did happen. Jonathan Taylor did not go the 101. This is super flex. I get it, but I am going the best running back here at 102. Just starting the strategy, letting the quarterbacks fall for me.
All right. So after you, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, then Austin Eckler is the RB2, which I find interesting, and then Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey. And so since I am going, I'm just going to draft normally. I'm not going to go robust running back. So I'm going to take, it's super flex. Let me take a little peek. Nah, it's all right. We're just going to not touch quarterbacks for a little while and see how that goes. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson in this spot. After me, Najee Harris and Derrick Henry. That sucks.
Dude. Which way are you going?
Oh man. Hang on, I need to look at my rankings. You know what? I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift here.
Wow.
Over Dalvin Cook, over Joe Mixon. I think that is
over Jamar Chase.
Well, yeah, that too. I wanted to get a running back because I know you're about to hammer 2 more.
I'm actually not. So I am hammering running back, but I'm going to get 1 more here. Right here, I'm taking Jalen Hurts to let me kind of stave off the rest of quarterbacks for a while. Then I'm going to take Nick Chubb with the looming suspension of Alvin Kamara. I think he should be falling a little bit lower than this until probably the 4th round.
All right, so I'm sitting here. So after you, you in between your 2 picks, Devontae Adams, Tom Brady, then you took Chubb, and then CeeDee Lamb, Kyle Pitts, Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Rodgers, Javonte Williams, Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel. And so I'm sitting here and I don't know what to do with my QB1 position, except of course I would take. What's that?
I was like, you kind of got to go in here, man.
I do, and
what are these 2 picks?
I might go both. And so based on ADP and value-based drafting, I would love to go Derek Carr, but because I drafted Jefferson, I kind of want to get a little funky and get a little stat going. So I'm going to take Kirk Cousins. I might even throw Thielen in there later. Get real weird. Then Derek Carr, Tyreek Hill came off the board. I'm going to take another look at running back. This is just ridiculous. So you're going to be sitting pretty here in a second.
I'm going to take Fields, too, if you don't take him here. I'll tell you that right now.
Now, remember, this is a redraft.
I don't know.
I might wait on quarterback here and go a different direction for my QB2. I think I'm going to take Mike Evans, who I think is going to absolutely smash this year.
That's a great pick.
Yeah. Even over Saquon and Aaron Jones, who I would love to pick, and I probably would in normal situations, but I like to do different things with these mocks.
Okay, so after you, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, A.J. Brown, George Kittle, Leonard Fournette, Breece Hall, Cam Akers, James Conner, that does sting the position a bit for me. I oof. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Who do I have ahead? This is actually a really good question for me here. It looks like I have Dave Montgomery the highest of here between Antonio Gibson, Zeke, and him. So I'm going to go Dave Montgomery as my third running back to kind of complete the strategy and
Maybe
leave
you can
me
take
open to move, which is huge. Um, and I'm actually so here I would be debating going Zeke or ETN at running back, or going Keenan Allen or Deontay Johnson. And because after me Gibson and Darren Waller went, that does take off the tight end position for me. I'm actually going to go Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver one. That's just more of my belief. So I now have a quarterback, my wide receiver one, and 3 running backs in the first 5.
Yeah. So after you, Keenan Allen, Justin Fields, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tua Tagovailoa. This is what I'm talking about in redraft. Zeke has fallen from grace. There's no reason you should be able to get Zeke in the 5th round. So every time that happens, I challenge you listeners to smash that pick if you have the opportunity. All right. I feel like there's been just a ton of really good wide receiver value falling, and so I'm kind of going. I'm going anchor running back, I guess, at this point. Which is not a strategy I normally toy with, but give me 1 second here. I need to see how I would draft this, and it looks like I would draft Michael Pittman here at this pick. So my receivers right now, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman. I think there's a really, really, I'm doing it. I need to take a second quarterback at some point. I'm looking really rough for my QB2, but
Same.
I'm just going to keep hammering it with the wide receivers now. And I have Mike Williams finishing as a top 12 wide receiver this year. So I'm going to take Mike Williams here, knowing that he won't get back to me.
That makes perfect sense. I'm kind of annoyed by that, not gonna lie to you. So after you, Dalton Schultz, Chris Godwin, TJ Hawkinson, Kenneth Walker, Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, and DJ Moore. So that does hit a lot of the boxes that suck for me. So I am going to go Trevor Lawrence here as my quarterback 2, just to lock that up. Jerry Jeudy and A.J. Dillon off the board after that. So there's some good receiver talent here. Amari Cooper, Marquise Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Cooks. The problem is the running backs after this area get kind of disgusting. So if I want an RB4 that's absolutely dominant this year, I have to take it right now. And I'm doing it, and I'm taking Damian Harris. We have been just pounding the horse that he's going to be driven into the ground by Belichick this year and left to die in free agency. So I think he's a great running back 4. Now I can just not worry about the position pretty much at this point. After me, Amari Cooper, Marquise Brown, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Matt Ryan, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Treylon Burks, Jameis Winston, Zach Wilson, and then you went.
I did, and I took Miles Sanders. So my pick there would have been Winston, but Winston came off the board, and so now I'm just kind of punting on QB2, and I'm gonna go. I'm just leaning into it at this point. So after that, Dallas Goedert, Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks kind of hurts my heart a little bit. Right. I was definitely going to take him there, but instead I'm going to go ahead and take the wide receiver 1 in Chicago and take Darnell Mooney here with my 8th round pick. That's fantastic value for a guy that should finish as a wide receiver 2.
Yep, and unfortunately, a run of receivers goes after you. Al Robinson, Cortland Sutton, Drake London, Michael Thomas, Mac Jones, Zach Ertz, Tony Pollard, Dawson Knox. So, quarterback 3 would be nice here, but I'm going to go – I do love Hopkins still. I think Devonta Smith is decent. I'm going to go Bateman here as my wide receiver 2. I think that gives me good upside there too. And then I technically want to go Patterson, because he should retain his dual wide receiver running back thing, but he doesn't have it right now is the problem. So because of that, I'm going to kind of avoid that. Go for another high upside play. I'm going Gabe Davis, man. I'm
Wow.
buying the hype at this point. I do think Diggs retains all of his fucking targets, but I think there's a good chance Gabe Davis, as a wide receiver 3, can really break out for you a little bit like Mike Williams has done in that kind of role, that explosive, big body, jump forward kind of guy. Not to the level, I don't think, this year, but still.
Yeah. All right. After you, Patterson was the next pick. Then Hunter Renfrow, fantastic pick as well. DeAndre Hopkins, Elijah Moore, Kareem Hunt, Pat Fryermuth, Devin Singletary, Garrett Wilson. And I have to take a QB2, so I'm going to take Daniel Jones, the guy we just talked about. I think there is some fantasy upside there. He's a good fantasy quarterback. I don't know that he's a good NFL quarterback.
If he got back to me, I was taking him. There's no question. So it was a good pick.
Yeah. Mike Gesicki, Adam Thielen off the board right after that. You know, I don't know what to do here. That's what.
So I think you kind of have to go running back or quarterback 3. So for those, I think it's Edmonds, Petty, Gordon are like the 3 to look for.
Yeah, you're right. And I think out of that group, I'm starting to lean into Rashad Penny. I really am.
He's getting the early touches. There's no question to me. I think him and Kenneth Walker, I think I have statted out that they finish really close to each other. But Penny's clearly going to be the lead guy to start, and then Walker will probably take over down the stretch.
There's another part of me that knows that Devin Singletary got 50-ish targets last year, and I think those mostly go to James Cook this year.
Yeah, it's a good pick too here.
And so I'm going to take James Cook instead.
All right. Well, after you, Chris Olave, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Melvin Gordon, Jameson Williams, Chase Claypool, Chase Edmonds, Michael Carter. That does suck. So I'm going to go Penny just to get a 5th running back, which is ridiculous with this strategy. And damn it. What a kick to the nards. Woods goes off the board. That does suck for me. I'm not letting this guy get back to you. Screw Christian. Hashtag screw the bald guy. Christian Kirk coming to me here because I know that's who you want. I'm really happy with that with my running backs for sure, but to have Deontay Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Gabriel Davis, and Christian Kirk, I think I can easily get enough out of that room to overcompensate with the running backs.
For sure. After you, Ramondre Stevenson, Russell Gage, Kadarius Toney, Cole Kmet, Sky Moore, Alan Lazard, Isaiah Spiller, Damian Pierce, a couple of rookie running backs off the board. And then I went with Noah Fant. I think that Noah Fant is a viable starting tight end for fantasy football. I know that his Broncos years weren't fantastic at all times. But I do think that I think Baker Mayfield's going to be his quarterback, and I think that is going to be valuable.
Quickly, sleeper ADP is so bad. At this point of the year, all ADP is pretty bad, if we're being completely honest. You can go to any website. I really think they're all pretty bad.
They are. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm sitting with 3 running backs. And you know what? I just, sometimes you got to stick to your guns. Sometimes you got to do it. And I don't think this player will get back just based on what the running backs look like. And I'm going to go with another rookie running back, and I'm going to take Rachaad White. I think he has standalone fantasy value this year.
I really want to know what your stats are for him.
I will tell you off air.
Yeah. So after you, Michael Gallup, Gronkowski, even though he retired, MVS, Alexander Madison, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Higbee, Hunter Henry, and Irv Smith. I do not have a tight end. That is a thing.
That's problematic.
And it is until I draft David Njoku right here. Jarvis Landry on after, James Robinson after that. I don't have a quarterback 3, but I'm okay with that for this scenario. But the receivers aren't this fantastic. Neither of the running backs. So I'm actually just going to lock it up. Do I want Tannehill or no? I'll take Tannehill. I do have him performing a little bit more efficient this year. Maybe not necessarily better, but I do have him a little bit more efficient this year. Rondell Moore, Naeem Hines, Daryl Henderson, DJ Chark, Robert Tunyon, Tyler Algier, Nicole Hardman, and Gerald Everett. Then back to you.
Yeah, so here, I think this is where, I locked up 5 wide receivers that I think can start. I don't see the value in taking a guy like Jacoby Myers in this instance because Jacoby Myers is safe. I won't really need him. What I want is guys that I know what's going to happen pretty early because then I can have we only have 4 more picks. These could be waiver wire drops. And so I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. We just talked about him. I think that there's some upside there if McLaurin misses the beginning of the year.
So I have a suggestion for you because I don't think he gets back to me. I think with your running back build, you have to take Marlon Mack here. Just personally, I think he's getting the run early and maybe the whole year. So, and he's looked relatively good through camp from all reports.
Did we break it? Why aren't they picking? Have they picked on your screen?
Yeah, Jacoby Myers and Kenneth Gainwell. So it's on you.
Well, that's problematic here. I guess I'll hit a little refresh and hope that it works. All right.
This guy.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Everyone saw that, right? If you're watching, you saw it.
I saw it on your screen, but it was good for mine. I guess pay for better internet. Lol.
Listen. Okay, here we go. We're in
2-income household. Come on.
Yeah, that's Spectrum sucks. That's all I can say. All right. So now I need to lock up a QB3 that I feel comfortable with.
Just ignoring everything I say.
I don't. Yeah, I am. Because at this point, the difference between Wentz, Goff, Mills, Trubisky, Baker is enticing at this point.
You can't take Baker here.
No, I can just wait. And
yeah.
Don't take a QB4. Don't be a dick.
I'm not.
You might.
100%.
Okay, so you say I have to take Marlon Mack.
You don't have to. I just think he's smart with James Cook and Rashad White to be your RB3 for the beginning to let those guys grow into their roles. You can just wait and see on them instead of having to cut ties to get someone else.
Oh, I timed out. So I took J.D. McKissick.
Jeez. And Marlon Mack went right after. Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, Kenny Galladay, who was probably who I was going to pick, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Tim Patrick, Devontae Parker off the board. I'm not going QB4. I do think Logan Thomas is a fantastic pick here. Just what we talked about, I do think he has a chance to break out this year. I'm actually going to do that and then take a shot at a wide receiver. Well, there's Evan Ingram too. I just hate Evan Ingram, so Logan Thomas it is. Khalil Herbert, Gus Edwards off the board. Running backs here, nothing. Brian Robinson, okay. Damian Williams, all right. Ingram. Actually, I'm going to take Ingram here with what we talked about before with possibly the first few weeks upside. So take him. I now have 2 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, a bunch of running backs. I need to take a receiver on the turn with upside that's cuttable. But besides that, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. I was trying to fix this.
So after me, Tyrion Davis-Price, Jalen Tolbert, Van Jefferson, Chuba Hubbard, Jamison Crowder, Brian Robinson, David Bell, Deonta Foreman.
Listen. I need them to stop. So what I'm trying to do is put in what my pick would have been, which was Khalil Herbert. I need to pause the draft, but I don't have time to do that clearly because it's not working.
Well, we'll just remember that you have Khalil Herbert instead of J.D. McKissick. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That is what I was trying to do there.
Because Khalil Herbert went the same round.
He did, yeah. All right. So after that little run of rookies mostly rookies or early career players.
It's upside shots.
Yeah, which is where I'm going to go as well. I believe that Joshua Palmer will have a role in the Chargers offense. I think, man, that's too many wide receivers.
You don't have a quarterback 3, by the way.
I know. I'm taking Baker in the 16th. You know what? I'm gonna take a tight end 2, kind of like you did there, and I'm gonna take Evan Ingram because I do think that the Doug Peterson offense traditionally uses tight ends. I think Evan Ingram's going to be used in the slot a little bit. Christian Kirk will work there as well.
I just don't trust him.
Yeah. So taking Baker is a low risk thing here. Because waiver wire, even in Superflex, you're going to be able to get a starting quarterback most of the time. Maybe not all of the time, but like your Trubisky's and your Pickett's. People could be wrong.
Here. Wentz, Goff, Mills, Pickett, Mariota, Trubisky, Locke, even Jimmy G. There's an outside chance he gets cut or traded to the Browns even after they trade Baker away. So there's plenty of guys left that you can kind of cut Baker and cut bait if he doesn't get traded. So you're fine in that instance. I need another receiver basically here. And after you, it was only running back. So Chris Carson, Keontae Ingram, Sonny Michel, James White, Keyshawn Vaughn, Kyron Williams, Kenyon Drake, Hassan Haskins. So Odell is okay if you're just going to hold on. But I'm not fucking doing shit like that. So for me, I think I have Robbie Anderson kind of increasing touches this year. Duvernay obviously increasing touches, so I think both of those are good. Kendrick Bourne has an upside shot there as well. Just shout out a few people. For me, though, I think you just take KJ Osborne here and call it a win as a wide receiver 6th. If he's not getting the touches because Thielman's healthy, you cut him. That's why I think you do that. Because if you take John Mechie or some of the other guys I mentioned, maybe you hold on to him a little bit too long and you miss out on the upside guy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read off my team because I actually really like it.
And just make sure to do your correction.
Yeah, for sure. So Kirk Cousins, DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Noah Fant, Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, Daniel Jones, James Cook, Rashad White, Jahan Dotson, Khalil Herbert, Evan Ingram, and Baker Mayfield. Feels like the bench is a little weak. I had to go with some upside shots because of how heavy I hammered wide receiver. But I went upside with the running backs, and I think Herbert is a high-value flex play too. That's a guy that I think you hold for a couple weeks, which I guess in that range is not ideal. Maybe McKissick was actually the right pick to see how his usage is early. So,
yeah. So I think I kind of nailed it. Personally, it's just how we have this stuff working out. Jalen Hurts, top 5 quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, top running back. Nick Chubb should be a running back 1. Deontay Johnson, we both, obviously, I think we're both going to set him as top 15, I would assume. Rashad Bateman, we both really like his upside. Gabe Davis is the fantasy darling. David Njoku, we're very high on as a back end 1. David Montgomery and Damian Harris as my flexes and RB3 and 4s are ridiculous. Quarterbacks are a little bit weaker. I agree with that after the 1, but with Trevor Lawrence and Ryan Tannehill, I have enough there that I'm happy with. Rashad Penny and Mark Ingram are my bench running backs, which is ridiculous, especially early on in the year. I think those would be big trade pieces to possibly upgrade my wide receiver 3 if needed, or tight end. Backup tight end Logan Thomas. And then Christian Kirk and KJ Osborne on the bench. Obviously, Osborne is a little bit more of an upside with Thielen being a little bit injured of late the last couple of years. But Christian Kirk is the wide receiver 1 on his team, and he's my wide receiver 4 on the bench that I don't need to play ever. So that's pretty cool. That gives me a little bit of flexibility with more of a consistent option, kind of like Jacoby Myers last year was for us. With a little bit more explosion and touchdown upside, while Gabe Davis might not work out to the extent we want, at least early on. So I really like that team, and it gives me a little bit of flexibility to possibly improve at wide receiver if needed.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So remember, your draft is not where you win your fantasy football league. And I think your team is more of a candidate for the early waiver wire. I'm going to spend as much as I can. If it's fab, like you spend as much as you can on the breakout wide receiver that no one drafted and no one called, because that happens every year. We're going to see that. There are guys like Elijah Mitchell and things like that. But if it's a waiver wire, like you will have wide receivers that you can pick up and probably start if you needed each week. And so that's why that strategy tends to work, because that doesn't always happen with running backs.
No, and if it is, it's usually one running back, and you have to spend a full fab budget just to get him. Well, wide receiver, it's a little bit less. And that team gives me two cuttable assets early on in KJ Osborne and Logan Thomas that are replaceable for that kind of production and value. So I have two cuttable pieces and two tradable pieces with early production in Penny and Mark Ingram, especially with the suspension to Camaro looming. So I if I can get that draft in, some of our leagues, and I know our home redraft league, I won that last year with this kind of strategy. Going back, we're trying to repeat, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, it was good. That was fun. I like doing those mock drafts, and especially when we're doing like rivaling strategies, because it shows the benefits of each one.
Yeah, I always like doing that because you can see how the strategies work, and you can compare them to just us doing a normal mock draft. So you get a little bit of best of both worlds. That's the good thing about two hosts, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
Again, go watch Miss Marvel. I don't think the last episode was as good as the first two, but I think it was more of a builder. So I think the one coming out Wednesday should be pretty good. Question: we're going on Monday, right? Or do you want to delay it? It's July 4th. That's why.
That's fine.
Do you have any concerns of your neighborhood?
I do. Have that. That's a good point.
So as of now, we're going Monday at normal time. If his neighbors and my neighbors, for that matter, because I do live in a little bit of a village over here, don't stop setting them off, we will delay till Wednesday or Thursday. We just have to, because
yeah. Randy the Village Man.
I don't like that.
I like it. But yeah, there's potential that we just won't be able to, like Randy said. So we'll see, but we will have an episode next week.
Yes,
we'll continue the depth chart analyses and things like that, and tie it in with, do you know what off the top of your head?
We have something to discuss. But it will be a mock of some sort.
Okay.
Another mock. It'll either be strategy or something else.
I gotcha. We'll talk about it when we end this call in about 20 seconds. So,
yes.
So really quick on Miss Marvel. Yes, go watch it. Yes, episode 3 was a little slower. Wasn't my favorite. But also Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is now available on Disney+. So if you're watching Miss Marvel, go watch Doctor Strange. Not a great movie, but a good movie, I think.
It's a good movie, yeah.
It's not top tier Marvel.
I'd have it on par with Captain America and like Iron Man and like the first Thor, like all the builder ones. I think it's on par of that and probably a little bit better, just because it has more story to it. But those are all really good movies. They're just not the best movies of
right. There's some cornballness to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but there's also some really, really cool things that they do. Sam Raimi is all over that, so it's good.
Also, the rumors are the Deadpool 3 is he's being dropped into the MCU, and that's about it. We have no idea past then. He's basically going to be a psychopath in the normal world.
Yeah, that did come out.
So that's going to be incredible. Love that.
It will, yeah, and
it's going to be rated R. So
it will be.
Better.
And so Hugh Jackman posted a picture today of him looking at his phone with a surprised face. And so I'm interested to see if that ties in. It was just very ominous, and I would love to see, even if they bring back the old Wolverine to kill him off. Randy's got ghosts. Time to go.
No, that's neighbors. That's what that is.
Okay. I gotcha. But I would be interested to see if that's how they do that, or if he's actually coming to the MCU, because I think that would be interesting.
I think he comes to the MCU. I just don't know if he meets like the Avengers or the Guardians or like that. It might be he might meet the Young Avengers like that.
That's true.
That's probably terrible to have Deadpool meet them, but it'd be funny.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that will do it for this episode of The Cut. We will be back in some form or fashion next week on some form of a day. We don't know which day, but
that's definitely something.
Be safe if you're out there celebrating the 4th of July, and have a good weekend. And, fantasy season is upon us. So we will be hitting still one episode a week for a little while. I know we're going to do our schedule predictions and stuff at some point here in the near future. And I'm excited to do that because I think we're going to get some clarity on what the NFL looks like here in the next couple of weeks before camp starts, and then be full go into that. So. 100%. All right. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We will talk to you guys next week. Later.